The starship Perseverance drifted silently into the orbit of Zarkathar Prime, a planet shrouded in mystery and legend. To most of humanity, Zarkathar Prime was a myth, a place spoken of in hushed tones among the scientific elite. Captain Aidan Shaw stood on the bridge of his ship, gazing out at the planet below. The lush, verdant landscapes and gleaming cities spoke of an advanced civilization far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. Aidan, a man of unyielding determination and sharp intellect, had led his crew through uncharted space to reach this enigmatic world. His mission was simple yet monumental: to make contact with the beings of Zarkathar Prime and to prove that humanity could stand alongside the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. As the Perseverance docked at the orbital station, Aidan gathered his team. Dr. Lila Martinez, the ship's xenobiologist, with her keen mind and empathetic nature, and Lieutenant Mark Harris, the tactical officer, known for his quick thinking and loyalty, flanked him. The crew was a mix of nerves and excitement, aware of the significance of this moment. "We've made it this far," Aidan said, his voice steady. "Let's show them what humanity is capable of." The airlock hissed open, and they were greeted by a delegation of Zarkatharans. Tall, slender beings with luminous skin and eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the universe. Their leader, an imposing figure with an air of authority, stepped forward. "I am High Chancellor Zylara. Welcome to Zarkathar Prime, Captain Shaw," she said, her voice resonating with an almost musical quality. Aidan inclined his head respectfully. "Thank you, High Chancellor. It's an honor to be here." Zylara's eyes sparkled with curiosity as she studied Aidan and his crew. "Few have been invited to Zenithus, our capital. Fewer still have been human. You must have quite the story." Aidan smiled. "It's a long one, but I'd be happy to share it." "Come," Zylara said, gesturing for them to follow. "Let us show you our city." The journey to Zenithus was breathtaking. The Zarkatharans' technology was far beyond anything Aidan had ever seen. Their transport moved effortlessly through the air, offering panoramic views of the sprawling metropolis below. Towering spires of iridescent crystal reflected the sunlight, casting a rainbow of colors across the city. Parks and gardens intertwined with advanced structures, creating a harmonious blend of nature and technology. As they descended, Aidan's awe grew. Zenithus was a marvel, a testament to what a society of extraordinary intellect could achieve. The streets were filled with beings of various species, each exuding an air of sophistication and wisdom. It was clear that this was a place where only the brightest minds could thrive. High Chancellor Zylara led them to the Grand Hall, a magnificent building at the heart of the city. Inside, the walls were lined with intricate carvings and holographic displays that depicted the history and achievements of Zarkathar Prime. Aidan couldn't help but feel a sense of reverence. "You are the first human to set foot in Zenithus," Zylara said, turning to Aidan. "We have observed your species for some time, and we are intrigued by your potential." Aidan nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "I'm honored to be here. What do you wish to know about humanity?" Zylara smiled. "All in good time, Captain. First, there are those who wish to meet you." She led them to a grand chamber where the Council of Sages awaited. Comprised of the most brilliant minds in the galaxy, the Council governed Zenithus. They were a diverse group, each member exuding an aura of intellectual superiority. A tall figure with piercing eyes stepped forward. "I am Sagan, Speaker of the Council. We welcome you, Captain Shaw. Your presence here is unprecedented." Aidan inclined his head. "Thank you, Speaker Sagan. I am here to learn and to share what I know." Sagan's gaze was intense. "We have much to discuss, but first we must see if you are worthy. We propose a series of challenges to test your intellect and resourcefulness." Aidan's heart quickened. This was his chance to prove humanity's worth. "I accept your challenge." The next morning, Aidan awoke in his quarters within the Grand Hall. The room was unlike anything he had ever seen, with walls that shifted colors in response to his mood, and a bed that adjusted its firmness for optimal comfort. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the day ahead. He met his team in the central atrium, where High Chancellor Zylara awaited them. "Today you will begin your journey through Zenithus," she said. "The first challenge will test your strategic thinking." Aiden followed Zylara to an arena where a holographic board hovered in the center. It was the game of Calyptor, known across the galaxy for its complexity and strategic depth. His opponent was Quoran, a renowned strategist from the planet Valtor. Quoran, with his sleek metallic skin and calculating gaze, regarded Aiden with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. "A human," he said. "This should be interesting." The game began, and Aiden quickly realized he was in for a challenge. Calyptor was played on a three-dimensional board, with each move affecting multiple layers. Quoran's moves were precise and calculated, revealing a mind that could anticipate several steps ahead. Aiden, however, had a different approach. While Quoran relied on logic and probability, Aiden used his intuition and adaptability. He made unexpected moves, forcing Quoran to reconsider his strategy. The game was intense, with moves and countermoves calculated at lightning speed. As the game progressed, a crowd gathered, drawn by the spectacle. Aiden could feel the weight of their expectations, but he remained focused. He analyzed Quoran's patterns, looking for weaknesses to exploit. In a bold move, Aiden sacrificed several pieces to create an opening. Quoran hesitated, momentarily thrown off balance. Aiden seized the opportunity, executing a complex maneuver that secured his victory. The arena erupted in applause. Quoran, though defeated, smiled in admiration. "Well played, human. You have earned my respect." Aiden nodded, relieved but aware that this was only the beginning. High Chancellor Zylara stepped forward, her expression one of approval. "You have passed the first challenge, Captain Shaw. Your ingenuity and adaptability are impressive." Aiden felt a surge of pride. "Thank you, High Chancellor. I am eager to continue." Zylara's eyes twinkled with curiosity. "Very well. Your next challenge will be even greater. Prepare yourself, for the true test is yet to come." As Aiden walked away from the arena, he couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. He had proven himself in the game of strategy, but he knew the challenges ahead would be far more demanding. Still, he was determined to show that humanity could stand among the galaxy's greatest minds. Aiden walked with a renewed sense of purpose through the halls of the Grand Hall, his mind racing with thoughts of the upcoming challenges. High Chancellor Zylara led him and his team to the Council of Sages chamber, a vast room adorned with shimmering tapestries and intricate holographic displays. The council members, each representing a different species and field of expertise, sat in a semicircle, their eyes fixed on Aiden. Speaker Sagan, a tall figure with silver hair and piercing blue eyes, stepped forward. "Captain Shaw," Sagan began, his voice resonating with authority, "you have impressed us with your strategic acumen. However, our next challenge will test not only your intellect, but also your creativity and problem-solving abilities." Aiden nodded, his curiosity piqued. "What is the challenge, Speaker Sagan?" Sagan gestured to a large, complex device in the center of the room. "This is the Enigma engine, a machine designed to test the limits of one's cognitive and creative abilities. You will have 24 hours to solve the puzzles it presents. Each puzzle requires a unique approach, combining logic, intuition, and innovation." Aiden studied the Enigma engine, its surface covered in intricate patterns and glowing symbols. He felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was unlike anything he had encountered before, but he was determined to rise to the occasion. "You may begin when ready," Sagan said, stepping back. Aiden approached the Enigma engine, his mind already whirring with possibilities. He reached out and touched the first puzzle, a series of interconnected symbols that shifted and changed as he interacted with them. The challenge had begun. The Enigma engine's puzzles were as varied as they were complex. The first involved decoding a series of shifting symbols that formed a pattern. Aiden's eyes darted across the display, his mind working to find the logic behind the seemingly random changes. As the hours passed, Aiden's initial apprehension gave way to a focused determination. He approached each puzzle with a fresh perspective, using his knowledge of human psychology, mathematics, and engineering to find solutions. He made use of the unique strengths of his team as well. Dr. Lila Martinez's keen analytical mind and Lieutenant Mark Harris's tactical thinking proved invaluable. The second puzzle involved manipulating light and shadow to create a specific image. Aiden recalled an ancient human art technique called chiaroscuro, which used contrasting light and dark to create depth. Applying this principle, he adjusted the holographic projectors until the desired image emerged. As the day wore on, fatigue began to set in, but Aiden pushed through. He knew that this was more than just a test of intellect. It was a test of endurance and resilience. The third puzzle, a mathematical conundrum that required finding a pattern in a series of prime numbers, took him several hours to crack. Finally, as the 24th hour approached, Aiden faced the final puzzle, a complex algorithm that required him to synthesize all the information from the previous puzzles into a cohesive whole. Drawing on every ounce of his mental strength, he worked feverishly, his fingers flying across the interface. With minutes to spare, Aiden completed the algorithm. The Enigma engine hummed to life, its patterns shifting into a harmonious display of lights and sounds. Aiden stepped back, breathing heavily but with a triumphant smile on his face. The Council of Sages erupted into applause. Speaker Sagan approached Aiden, his expression one of genuine admiration. "Captain Shaw, you have proven yourself once again. Your creativity and problem-solving abilities are truly remarkable." Aiden nodded, exhausted but proud. "Thank you, Speaker Sagan. It was an honor to face your challenges." After the intense challenge of the Enigma engine, Aiden was granted a brief respite. High Chancellor Zilara led him and his team to the Hall of Archives, a vast repository of knowledge that spanned millennia. The walls were lined with data crystals and holographic displays, each containing invaluable information about the galaxy's history, technology, and cultures. Zilara guided them to a secluded chamber where a central console awaited. "This is the core archive," she explained. "It contains our most guarded secrets and vital information. We believe it is time for you to understand the true reason behind our interest in you." Aiden's curiosity was piqued. "What is it that you want me to see?" Zilara activated the console, and a holographic projection filled the room. It depicted a sprawling map of the galaxy, with various star systems highlighted. Among them, a dark, menacing force spread like a shadow. "This," Zilara said, pointing to the shadow, "is the Crithaxian threat. They are an ancient enemy, ruthless and relentless in their pursuit of domination. Their technology and tactics are unlike anything we have faced before. We have lost many worlds to their onslaught." Aiden studied the map, feeling a chill run down his spine. "And you think humanity can help?" Zilara nodded. "Your unique perspective and adaptability are qualities we desperately need. The Council believes that you might hold the key to devising a strategy to defeat the Crithaxians." The weight of the revelation settled on Aiden's shoulders. He understood now why he had been brought here, why the challenges were so rigorous. This was not just a test of his abilities, but a call to arms in a battle for the survival of countless civilizations. "We need to act quickly," Zilara continued. "The Crithaxians are preparing for a major offensive. We must unite our forces and devise a strategy to counter them." Aiden's mind raced with possibilities. "I'll do whatever it takes to help, but we'll need more than just strategies. We need allies, resources, and most importantly, trust." Zilara smiled, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "You are right, Captain Shaw, and that is why we will introduce you to others who share our vision of unity against this threat." As they left the Hall of Archives, Aiden felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had come to Zarkathar Prime to prove humanity's worth, but now he realized that his mission was far greater. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and he was determined to rise to the challenge. The path ahead would be perilous, filled with dangers and uncertainties, but with allies by his side and a burning resolve in his heart, Aiden Shaw was ready to face the Crithaxian menace and defend the galaxy from annihilation. Aiden knew that the battle against the Crithaxians would require more than just intelligence and strategy. He needed allies, those who believed in the cause and were willing to fight for the survival of their civilizations. High Chancellor Zilara arranged a meeting with representatives from various species who had shown interest in forming a coalition. The meeting took place in the Unity Chamber, a grand hall designed for diplomatic gatherings. Aiden entered, accompanied by his team, and was greeted by a diverse group of beings. Among them were Rylak, a tall, graceful telepath from Zarkathar; Thalix, a cybernetic engineer from the technologically advanced planet Mekron; and Jorah, a warrior from the fierce and honorable Kavarthian race. Rylak, with her translucent skin and luminescent eyes, stepped forward. "Captain Shaw, your achievements have reached far and wide. We are honored to meet you." Aiden nodded, appreciating the telepath's warm reception. "Thank you, Rylak. The honor is mine. We face a great threat, and I believe that together we can overcome it." Thalix, whose body was a seamless blend of organic and mechanical parts, spoke in a voice that resonated with metallic clarity. "The Krithaxians have already begun to encroach on Mekron's borders. We have advanced technology, but we lack the strategic acumen you have demonstrated. We are ready to stand with you." Jorah, her muscular frame clad in traditional Kavarthian armor, gave a respectful nod. "The Kavarthians do not shy away from battle. We will fight with honor and strength." The atmosphere in the Unity Chamber was one of cautious optimism. However, not everyone was convinced. Kalira, a xenophobic member of the council, stood at the back of the room, her eyes filled with suspicion. She had never trusted humans and believed their involvement would bring disaster. As the meeting progressed, Aiden outlined his plan to form a united front against the Krithaxians. He emphasized the need for collaboration and trust among the different species. "We must share our knowledge, resources, and strengths. Only together can we hope to stand against the Krithaxian threat." The representatives agreed, and a coalition was formed. Aiden felt a sense of accomplishment, but he knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, especially with Kalira's hostility lurking in the background. As preparations for the coalition's first offensive began, Aiden and his team received troubling news. Kalira had been seen meeting with a mysterious figure, and intelligence suggested she was leaking information to the Krithaxians. Aiden knew that if they were to succeed, they needed to address this threat from within. A plan was devised to infiltrate the Krithaxian command ship and gather evidence of Kalira's betrayal. Aiden, Rylak, and Thalix volunteered for the mission, knowing the risks involved. Disguised as mercenaries, they boarded a captured Krithaxian shuttle and set a course for the enemy's flagship. The Krithaxian command ship, an imposing vessel bristling with weaponry, loomed before them. Aiden's heart pounded as they docked and prepared to enter. The interior was a labyrinth of dark corridors and menacing patrols. Rylak used her telepathic abilities to sense danger, guiding them safely through the ship. They reached the command center and accessed the mainframe, where Thalix's cybernetic skills proved invaluable. As Thalix hacked into the system, Aiden and Rylak stood guard. The tension was palpable, every shadow a potential threat. Finally, Thalix found what they were looking for: communications between Kalira and the Krithaxian leader, Zorath. The messages confirmed Kalira's betrayal and her intent to sabotage the coalition's efforts. They copied the data and prepared to leave, but their presence had not gone unnoticed. An alarm blared, and Krithaxian soldiers swarmed the corridors. Aiden and his team fought their way back to the shuttle, with Rylak using her telepathy to create distractions and Thalix disabling security systems. It was a harrowing escape, but they managed to launch the shuttle and evade the Krithaxian ships. Back at Zenithus, they presented the evidence to the Council of Sages. Kalira was arrested, her treachery laid bare. The coalition was shaken but more determined than ever to defeat the Krithaxians. With Kalira's betrayal exposed and the coalition united, Aiden and his allies prepared for the inevitable Krithaxian assault on Zenithus. The city, despite its advanced technology, was not accustomed to warfare. Aiden took charge of the defense, devising a strategy that combined the unique strengths of each allied species. The Krithaxian fleet arrived, their ships darkening the skies above Zenithus. The battle began with a ferocity that shook the city to its core. Aiden directed the defenses, using guerrilla tactics and exploiting the Krithaxians' arrogance. Thalix coordinated the city's technological defenses, deploying drones and automated turrets to hold back the invaders. Rylak and her fellow telepaths worked to disrupt the Krithaxians' communications, sowing confusion and chaos among their ranks. Jorah led the ground forces, her warriors fighting with unmatched ferocity and honor. The battle was intense, with heavy casualties on both sides. Despite their best efforts, the Crethaxians began to gain the upper hand. Aiden knew they needed a decisive move to turn the tide. He devised a daring plan to strike at the heart of the Crethaxian fleet. Using the information they had gathered during the infiltration mission, they identified the command ship's weak points. Aiden, Thalix, and Rylak led a small strike team on a high-risk mission to disable the Crethaxian flagship. They navigated through the battlefield, evading enemy fire and slipping past defenses. Once aboard the flagship, they fought their way to the reactor core. As Thalix worked to sabotage the core, Aiden and Rylak held off waves of Crethaxian soldiers. The tension was palpable, every second feeling like an eternity. Finally, Thalix succeeded, and they made a hasty retreat as the flagship's reactor went critical. The resulting explosion was a turning point in the battle. The destruction of their flagship demoralized the Crethaxian forces, and the coalition seized the opportunity to launch a coordinated counterattack. The skies above Zenithus lit up with the brilliance of battle, but gradually the tide turned in favor of the defenders. With the Crethaxians in disarray, Aiden and his allies pressed their advantage, driving the invaders back. The coalition's unity and determination had proven stronger than the Crethaxians' might. As the last of the enemy ships retreated, a cheer rose from the defenders of Zenithus. Aiden stood amid the ruins of the battlefield, his heart filled with relief and pride. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. He knew that the Crethaxians would return, stronger and more determined, but for now, they had bought themselves time and hope. The coalition had faced its first major test and emerged victorious. Aiden vowed to continue the fight, to protect the galaxy from the Crethaxian menace, and to build a future where all species could coexist in peace. The victory at Zenithus was a significant milestone, but it came at a high cost. The city lay in ruins, and the coalition forces were exhausted. Amid the celebrations and mourning for the fallen, Aiden remained vigilant. The revelation of Kalira's betrayal had left a deep wound, and he suspected there were still secrets that had yet to surface. As Aiden and his team worked to rebuild and strengthen the coalition, they received disturbing reports. Crethaxian spies had infiltrated their ranks, and vital information about their next moves was being leaked. Trust, already fragile, began to erode among the Allied forces. One night, Aiden was summoned to a secret meeting by Rylak. She had sensed something disturbing through her telepathic abilities. "Aiden, there is more to Kalira's betrayal than we initially thought," she said, her voice tense. "I've uncovered a network of Crethaxian sympathizers within our ranks. They plan to sabotage our efforts from within." Rylak hesitated. "I don't have all the names yet, but I know that one of our key allies is involved. We need to act quickly before they can do more damage." Aiden decided to confront the Council of Sages. He presented the evidence Rylak had gathered and proposed a plan to root out the traitors. However, not all members were convinced. Trust was a rare commodity, and the fear of another betrayal was palpable. Just as the meeting was reaching a critical point, alarms blared throughout Zenithus. The Crethaxians had launched a surprise attack, exploiting the chaos and distrust within the coalition. The city was once again thrown into turmoil. Amid the chaos, Aiden received a message from Thalix. "Aiden, the Crethaxians have breached our defenses. They're heading for the command center. You need to stop them." Aiden rallied his team and fought his way through the city. The streets were a battlefield, with coalition forces and Crethaxian soldiers clashing in brutal combat. Aiden's mind raced as he realized the depth of the infiltration. The Crethaxians had used Kalira's network to orchestrate this attack. As they reached the command center, Aiden saw Kalira herself, leading the Crethaxian forces. Her eyes were cold and determined. "You should have stayed on Earth, human," she sneered. "You don't belong here." Aiden and his team engaged Kalira and her forces in a fierce battle. The command center shook with the intensity of the conflict. Aiden fought with every ounce of strength he had, driven by the desire to protect Zenithus and the coalition. In a desperate move, Aiden managed to corner Kalira. "This ends now," he said, his voice filled with resolve. Kalira laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. "You may have won this battle, but the Crethaxians will never stop. They are relentless, and they will destroy everything you hold dear. Aiden didn't waver. Not if I can help it. With a swift and decisive strike, he defeated Kalira. The remaining Krithaxian forces, leaderless and disoriented, were quickly overwhelmed by the coalition. The attack had been thwarted, but the cost was high. Trust had been further eroded, and the city was in even greater disarray. In the aftermath of the battle, the coalition gathered to regroup and strategize. The Krithaxian threat loomed larger than ever, and they knew that a final confrontation was inevitable. Aiden proposed a daring plan, a coordinated strike on the Krithaxian homeworld. It was a high-risk mission, but it was the only way to end the threat once and for all. The coalition forces prepared for the assault. Aiden's plan involved a two-pronged attack, a direct assault on the Krithaxian defenses, and a covert mission to disable their command structure. The stakes were higher than ever, and failure was not an option. As the fleet assembled, Aiden addressed the coalition. "We stand at the brink of a new era. The Krithaxians have threatened our existence, but today, we fight not just for survival, but for a future where all species can live in peace. We will not falter. We will not fail." The fleet departed for the Krithaxian homeworld, a desolate planet fortified with formidable defenses. As they approached, the Krithaxian fleet engaged them in a brutal space battle. The skies were filled with the blazing lights of weapons fire and explosions. Aiden led the assault, his strategic mind guiding the coalition forces through the chaos. Thalix and his team of engineers worked to disable the Krithaxian defenses, using advanced technology to breach their shields. Relak and her telepaths focused their efforts on disrupting the Krithaxian command, sowing confusion among their ranks. Despite their efforts, the Krithaxian resistance was fierce. Aiden knew that the only way to secure victory was to strike at the heart of the enemy. He led a small strike team on a perilous mission to infiltrate the Krithaxian command center. As they fought their way through the fortress, Aiden encountered Zorath, the Krithaxian leader. Zorath was a formidable opponent, his strength and cunning unmatched. The duel between them was intense, each move calculated and precise. Zorath sneered as they fought. "You are a fool to think you can defeat us, human. We are the superior race. Your coalition is nothing but a fleeting alliance." Aiden's resolve hardened. "We fight for more than just survival. We fight for a future where all can live free from tyranny." With a final decisive blow, Aiden defeated Zorath. The Krithaxian leader fell, and the command structure of the enemy collapsed. The remaining Krithaxian forces, leaderless and demoralized, began to retreat. The destruction of Zorath and the collapse of the Krithaxian command marked a turning point in the battle. The coalition forces pressed their advantage, launching a full-scale assault on the remaining Krithaxian defenses. The once formidable enemy was now in disarray, their ranks breaking under the relentless onslaught. Aiden and his strike team continued their mission, moving deeper into the heart of the Krithaxian stronghold. The corridors were filled with the sounds of battle, the air thick with the tension of the final confrontation. Every step forward was a struggle, but Aiden's determination never wavered. As they approached the central command, Aiden received a transmission from Thalix. "Aiden, we've secured the outer defenses. The Krithaxians are falling back. It's up to you now." Aiden acknowledged the message, his focus razor-sharp. "Understood. We're almost there." The final chamber was a vast, cavernous room filled with advanced technology and Krithaxian soldiers. At its center was the control nexus, the heart of the Krithaxian war machine. Aiden knew that destroying it would cripple their ability to wage war. The battle in the command center was fierce, with Aiden and his team fighting against overwhelming odds. Relak used her telepathic abilities to disrupt the Krithaxian soldiers, creating openings for Aiden and the others to strike. Thalix worked to disable the control nexus, his cybernetic enhancements giving him an edge in the technological environment. As the battle reached its peak, Aiden faced the Krithaxian general, a towering figure of strength and malice. The duel was a test of skill and endurance, each combatant pushing their limits. Aiden's human intuition and adaptability proved to be his greatest assets, allowing him to outmaneuver the general. With a final powerful strike, Aiden defeated the general. The Crithaxian command center fell silent, the once imposing structure, now a tomb of fallen warriors. Thalix completed his work, and the control nexus began to overload. "We need to get out of here," Thalix said, urgency in his voice. "This place is going to blow." Aiden and his team made a hasty retreat, racing through the corridors as explosions rocked the stronghold. They reached the extraction point just as the Crithaxian command center was consumed in a massive explosion, a brilliant flash of light marking the end of the enemy's power. As they returned to the Coalition fleet, Aiden felt a surge of relief and triumph. The Crithaxian threat had been neutralized, their war machine dismantled. The Coalition had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. The victory came at a high cost, with many lives lost and cities destroyed. But it was a new beginning, a chance to rebuild and forge a future where all species could coexist in peace. Aiden Shaw had led them through the darkness, and now they stood at the dawn of a new era. The Coalition fleet returned to Zenithus amidst a mix of jubilation and mourning. The battle against the Crithaxians had been won, but the scars of war were evident everywhere. The once gleaming city of Zenithus now bore the marks of destruction, and the Coalition members were keenly aware of the lives that had been sacrificed for this victory. As the fleet docked, Aiden Shaw stood at the helm, his gaze fixed on the battered city below. The triumph of defeating the Crithaxians was tempered by the overwhelming task of rebuilding and healing the wounds of war. His mind was a whirlwind of emotions, relief, grief, and a deep-seated determination to ensure that the sacrifices made were not in vain. High Chancellor Silara met Aiden and his team as they disembarked. Her usual composed demeanor was softened by a rare display of emotion. "Captain Shaw," she said, her voice thick with gratitude and sorrow, "you have led us to a great victory, but our work is far from over." Aiden nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "We will rebuild, and we will honor those who gave their lives for this cause. The unity we've forged must continue, now more than ever." The following days were a blur of activity. Coalition forces worked tirelessly to restore order and begin the reconstruction of Zenithus. Aiden spent long hours coordinating efforts, ensuring that aid was distributed where it was most needed, and that the rebuilding process was efficient and inclusive. The bond formed during the battle against the Crithaxians had to be maintained and strengthened. Amidst the rubble and the rebuilding, Aiden was called to the Hall of Remembrance, where a memorial was being erected to honor the fallen. The hall was a solemn place, its walls adorned with the names and faces of those who had perished in the fight for freedom. As Aiden walked through the hall, he felt a profound sense of loss, but also a renewed sense of purpose. He approached the podium at the center of the hall, where representatives from all Coalition species had gathered. High Chancellor Zylara stood beside him, her presence a steadying force. Aiden took a deep breath and began to speak. "Today we honor the brave souls who gave everything in the fight against the Crithaxian menace. Their courage and sacrifice have secured a future for us all, a future where we can live in peace and harmony, free from tyranny and oppression." He paused, looking out at the diverse assembly. "We have faced unimaginable challenges and endured great loss, but through it all, we have proven that unity and cooperation are our greatest strengths. The bonds we have formed here, the friendships and alliances, must endure. Together, we will rebuild. Together, we will forge a new path forward." The assembly erupted in applause, their faces reflecting a mix of hope and determination. Aiden stepped down from the podium, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. The path ahead would not be easy, but he was confident that the Coalition would rise to the challenge. In the weeks that followed, Aiden worked closely with his allies to establish a framework for lasting peace and cooperation. The Coalition formed a governing council with representatives from each species to ensure that all voices were heard and that the lessons learned from the war would guide their future actions. Rylak, Thalix, and Jorah became trusted advisors and friends, their contributions invaluable to the rebuilding efforts. Together they oversaw the reconstruction of Zenithus, transforming it into a symbol of resilience and unity. The city, once a beacon of intellectual superiority, now stood as a testament to the strength that comes from diversity and collaboration. As the months passed, Aidan found moments of quiet reflection amidst the bustling activity. He often visited the Hall of Remembrance, taking solace in the memories of those who had fought and fallen. Their legacy was a constant reminder of the importance of the work they were doing. One evening, as the sun set over the newly rebuilt Zenithus, casting a golden glow over the city, Aidan stood on a balcony overlooking the skyline. High Chancellor Zalara joined him, her presence a comforting reminder of how far they had come. "You've done remarkable work, Aidan," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "The coalition is stronger than ever, and Zenithus is thriving once again." Aidan smiled, his eyes reflecting the city's glow. "We did this together, Zylara. The strength of the coalition comes from the unity we've forged. I have no doubt that we will continue to grow and thrive, as long as we remember what brought us together." Zylara nodded, her gaze thoughtful. "The future is bright, Aidan. Thanks to you." As they stood together watching the city lights flicker on, Aidan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey had been long and arduous, but they had emerged stronger and more united. The sacrifices made along the way had not been in vain. The galaxy had changed, and so had Aidan Shaw. He had come to Zenithus to prove humanity's worth, and in doing so, had discovered the true power of unity and cooperation. The future was uncertain, but with allies by his side and a vision for a better tomorrow, Aidan was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The battle had been won, but the real victory was the enduring bond between the diverse species of the coalition. Together, they would build a future where peace, knowledge, and collaboration reigned supreme. Aidan Shaw, once a lone explorer, had become a symbol of hope and unity, a legacy that would inspire generations to come.